The High Court in Pretoria has granted the former President Jacob Zuma's leave to appeal the ruling that set his medical parole aside. Now, the court believes that a different court could come to a different conclusion. Earlier, Zuma's legal representative, Dali Mpofu, and the Correctional Services argued that the order to send the former president back to prison was punitive. Our senior reporter, Malunelo Booi, has been following that story, and he joins us now to elaborate. Certainly a day of breaking news stories, Malungelo. Leave to appeal now granted for the former president.
That's right. In fact, I just want us to start this conversation, Tammy, to what Ismail Jami, that's the senior counsel of the Democratic Alliance, had said in the court. He said the court should be wary of sympathy and grant, this leave to appeal when it should not. Remember, the Democratic Alliance, AfriForum, as well as the Helen Suzman Foundation have actually been opposing this application that has been brought forward by Jacob Zuma, as well as the Correctional Services. They are of the view that the judge did not make a mistake by overturning that medical parole ruling. Remember, on September, former President Jacob Zuma was granted that medical parole. But these parties are saying that the requirements for the medical parole were actually not met. What now we've heard, the arguments that have been put forward by Advocate Dali Mpofu as well as Advocate Mphahlele for the Correctional Services. They're actually saying that the Commissioner of the Correctional Services did not need an approval from the medical parole advisory
but
board.
That really was a recommendation, but he is not obliged to take that recommendation.
Which was actually quite interesting. But what we understand, though, Tammy, is that if there's also there's a lot to look into here. So if you, for example, going to spend less than 24 months in prison, you essentially don't need the medical parole board's intervention. That's what we heard in this court. But what those that have been opposing this application have actually been saying that no, it seems as if there's different rules for former President Jacob Zuma as well as other inmates.
Let's listen in to what the judge had to say.
Sure.
His freedom of movement is restricted, and this has an impact on his dignity. He is serving his sentence, albeit outside prison. Third, what I want to say is because of his illness and advanced age, he needs compassion, he needs empathy and humaneness, which is the essence of Ubuntu. In my view, another court may take this into consideration and come to a different finding. Accordingly, for the above reason, leave to appeal is granted to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and that cost will be cost in the appeal. Court adjourns. You are all excused.
And I guess that was one of the main questions, Malu. Will another court likely make a different decision, come to a different conclusion? What was Dali Mpofu's standpoint?
Well, what Dali Mpofu had actually argued was that, another court would certainly come into a different, conclusion. Also, Correctional Services also said the same thing. I just want us to listen to what Advocate Dali Mpofu said in court earlier.
Insofar as that order is punitive, one way or the other, to him as a person, and the Lordship is quite correct. One has to take that, firstly, the issue that your Lordship raises into account, that why would you punish him? Let's assume for a minute that there were irregularities in the granting of the parole, which we don't concede. Why would you punish him as if he gave himself parole, as if he released himself, as your Lordship correctly points out? But as far as the issue being raised, Your Worship, my Lord, that issue was raised acutely. In fact, ironically, it was raised by Your Lordship. The first question Your Lordship raised in questioning my learned friends was, but how can you say he's out there when he is serving a parole? Because that doesn't mean he's a free man like you and me or other people. And in argument, we reiterated the point that Your Lordship has raised. So I'm surprised if Your Lordship says it should have been raised, because it was raised by us and it was raised by Your Lordship. But Your Lordship, in his judgment, somehow abandoned that line.
Yes, can I come in there, Mr. Mpofu?
Yes.
What you are saying, in essence, is another court may arrive at a different finding. I think that point is made.
So, Tammy, what we know for certain now, especially from these proceedings, is that the former president does have a chronic illness, and we're told that it's getting worse. Let's listen to what, you know, the representative of the Correctional Services, Advocate Mpahlele, had to say on this.
This Medical Parole Advisory Board made a decision that the third respondent was stable. That's all that it says. It didn't say that, after all, he's not terminally ill. It didn't say that, after all, he's not incapacitated to a point that he cannot do his daily duty. He said he was stable.
They said he does not meet the requirement of the Act.
He said he does not meet the requirement of the Act. We are not quite sure which requirement are they referring to, but they said he was
79.1.
My Lord, that is not what they are saying. They didn't say he didn't meet the requirements of the Act. We don't know whether they talk about all of them. And we are saying they only say he's not stable, and that doesn't mean that he has been cured. Because even if you are stable, you know, does not mean that, after all, you are now in a position going forward to no longer terminally ill. And on that basis, my Lord, we submit that, after all, a case has been made out that for leave to appeal, and we submit that the application for leave to appeal should be granted.
What then, Malunelo, is the way forward for the former president?
Well, he's now going to appeal. He's taking his matter to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and that's it.
And he remains a free man. He will be enjoying Christmas with his family.
That's it.
All right, Malunelo Booi, thank you very much for that.